Hi all. If you already have an iPhone and are choosing a smartwatch, the most logical option would be the Apple Watch from the same company, only there are several options, and therefore I offer a selection of current models that you can choose now. Enjoy watching. Well, let's move on to the selection of current Apple Watch models. Previously, choosing an Apple Watch was very simple. All you had to do was choose a larger or smaller model. Then, Apple added the optional ability to connect to cellular communications via LTE and eSIM in countries where this is supported. Then, the more affordable Watch SE was released. In 2022, the more durable Apple Watch Ultra was introduced, and this year, even the Series 9 and Ultra 2 went on sale. Suddenly, many options appeared, but at the same time, they are not very different from each other strongly. In fact, starting from the 7th series, the updates were more of an iterative nature, since technically the filling remained almost the same. They simply added new functions, sensors, and other software updates. And only with the 9th version did the hardware update come. So, as for me, the main emphasis when choosing a smartwatch is the price, which, for previous versions, fell with the release of new ones. And for used ones, you can even find options that are half the price. But regardless from the price, you need to understand that this is a device for every day, which will justify its cost only if you wear it on your hand regularly and not leave it collecting dust on a table or desk drawer. Although the Apple Watch cannot be called the best of its kind, yes, it is a good smartphone, watches that combine many different functions, but that is why they are inferior to some more highly specialized fitness bracelets that are better suited for playing sports, monitoring sleep, and the like. Plus, these watches do not make any sense without an iPhone. Therefore, if you have Android, this option immediately disappears. It's better to look towards Samsung or Chinese companies. Well, before moving on to a detailed analysis of the new models and their differences, it's worth talking about the general characteristics. Between generations, since SE and Series are considered universal models, that's why they are available in two sizes for different hands. The SE model comes in sizes 40 and 44 mm, and the Series 7, 8, 9, 41, and 45 mm. Large models make the text easier to read, while small ones are more comfortable for people with small wrists. Moreover, the body of all of them is made of aircraft aluminum, like most Apple equipment. But the Series also has a variation made of stainless steel, which is more durable and does not collect scratches as easily. It's not that aluminum is very susceptible to external influences. It's just that stainless steel is aimed at those who lead an active lifestyle. But because of this, it costs more. Therefore, aluminum will be enough for most, especially color ones. There are more variations in it. But the Apple Watch Ultra and Ultra 2 are no longer just watches for sports lovers, but something on the verge of extreme, like rock climbing, as was shown in the presentation. And therefore they come in only one size at 49 mm. This is the largest watch that exists, and it is already made in a titanium case. This is regarding the general details. Now let's talk about the newest models. The main choice for most people is between two models, Series 9 and SE, which even receive the same filling. The 9th series is the most significant in terms of updating, since it is the flagship model. It received a new S9 processor, which allows it to work faster, use the Siri voice assistant in offline mode, and much more, including an upgraded chip for the search points of your iPhone. But it only works in conjunction with iPhone 15. A brighter screen has also become available, although not by much, a double tap function and fast charging. With some new sensors, the main thing that works is that it's faster than previous models. The menu is much more responsive, and the new Smart Stack Watch OS X interface looks fresh, but also intuitive, for which you will have to pay $400 for the small version and $429 for the 45 mm model. And if you want to add the LTE function where it works, you will have to pay another $100 to the price, which ultimately comes out to a tidy sum. So, if you want, you can choose the second generation SE, which with a composite back cover will save you a few dollars, although it has the same functions as the Series 7, such as fall detection, emergency calling in the case of the LTE model, Fitness Plus, Apple Pay, and family setup. The most important difference is the absence of some medical sensors, such as ECG, temperature, and oxygen. Plus, this model does not have always-on display, that is, when the screen is always on, which many people don't need anyway. But their price is already $250 for the smaller model and $280 for the 44mm one, which is a significant saving and, frankly speaking, all these fancy sensors, no one really needs them. Unless you have some health problems that force you to constantly monitor it, but for this, of course, it's better to use professional equipment. Apple Watch in this case comes as an auxiliary part. And if everything is fine, then the usual heart rate sensor in the SE will be enough. It is still capable of issuing warnings in cases of deviation. And so, you will play with it. At first, you will forget that it even exists. So, the savings in case of purchasing the SE, as for me, it is justified. Especially since even this model provides excellent health control and all the same smart functions, but at the same time it will save an average of $150 on the price. In general, it sounds like Series 9 is not even needed. But there are scenarios where they are irreplaceable. For example, if you need an always-on display or need the latest innovations, a larger and brighter display also provides better readability for people with low vision. Well, if you have heart problems, this is also the best option to more accurately monitor your health. Well, above all are the Apple Watch Ultra 2, the coolest, most expensive watch. And in general, the very best, since they occupy first place in the premium class line with a price of $800, for which we get the largest screen, a protective frame protruding along the edges to protect the screen, water resistance at the highest level, and other standards of protection under which hides a temperature sensor, water depth for divers, as many as 3 microphones for good audibility, and 2 speakers that, if necessary, allow you to turn on a loud siren. And there is also an action button to which you can, for example, assign a pause to a workout or other actions. Is it worth the overpayment for the new generation, if almost the same thing happened in the past? In my opinion, no. Ultra One still remains an excellent watch, which, moreover, with the release of new ones, appeared on eBay. And retail chains, in order to introduce new products, reduce their prices. Moreover, these watches are suitable not only for athletes, but also for ordinary people who, like me, sometimes forget charge your devices, especially when there are too many of them. Now you need to charge your phone, headphones, tablets, laptops, and now also your watch. Therefore, if battery life is a priority for you, the Ultra version stands out from the rest, capable of holding a charge without turning on the low power mode for about 60 hours. However, if you also use GPS tracking mode for at least an hour a day or take calls from your watch, operating time drops to 2 days. Which is still not bad against the backdrop of 18 hours of battery life in the SE version and Series 9. But this is in normal use. And there is also a way to extend the life of a single charge. Of course, you won't be able to beat the Ultra. But starting with Series 4, and in later models, using the new low power mode that appeared in Watch OS 9, the battery life can be doubled, up to 36 hours, but for this you will have to sacrifice background health sensors. Although they will still track sleep mode, plus Series 9, and unlike other models, it supports fast charging mode, which will come in handy when you go to bed and the battery level is close to 0. In addition, since this is a new model, it has more potential for the future due to more modern hardware. Therefore, if you already have an old Apple Watch and want to upgrade to the new Series 9, this is an ideal option, as it will allow you to get more useful functions since SE is more of a device for entering this ecosystem, and Ultra is unnecessary for the average person. However, here is a small remark. Since if you have not used watches from Apple before, you can choose older models starting from the 7th series. They cost significantly less, but in terms of functionality, they are almost the same, and it is better to take one with a large screen, which is much more convenient for eye, where you can even enlarge the font. Although not everyone likes always on display, it will be more preferable for the older generation, who are accustomed to the fact that the time can always be seen, for whom it even has all the medical sensors, an alert function for heartbeat disturbances, fall detection, and much more. That is, it is ideal option for the older generation. But for children, it is better to take the SE of the previous generation. It has the same processor as in Series 8, although there are fewer sensors, but at the same time, the price is lower. In addition, they are better suited for small wrists due to their small size and light weight. Well, the main thing here is parental control, which is also important when choosing a watch for a child. Therefore, in the end, there are a huge variety of current models, but they are not very different from each other, and even the oldest models, which cost several times cheaper than new ones, perform the basic functionality. So I don't see the point in overpaying unless you're chasing new products or you already have old models and want something for yourself, something newer, since in other cases 95% of users will suffice in Series 7 or 8, between which you can choose SE. This is more an option for beginners to understand how everything works, or for children. While Ultra is already a device for professionals, the functions of which you will not use in everyday life, except probably for greater autonomy. But starting with Series 8, there is a battery life function that extends the operating time to 36 hours, which is also enough for most. In general, the choice is individual, so write your preferences in the comments. Well, subscribe to the channel, because that's all for today. Thank you for watching until the end, and see you in the next videos on the channel. Bye.